welcome to the Vamos Morados podcast on the State of Louisville Press Network. I'm Zach.
And I'm Benton, and we're here to finally talk about some regular season games.
We got games this week.
I am so excited.
I have mixed feelings about the games. I was ready to come in so fired up, and then it very quickly became a mixed feelings weekend.
Don't want to jump too far ahead. I get where you're going, particularly with the racing result, but I still think all in all, it's a net positive weekend. There's still good things to take away. It wasn't all bad.
It's not all bad.
But before we get
But
there,
there's more to life than soccer, Benton.
exactly.
So, I mean, there's about to be not as much to life other than soccer because we're about to be real busy. But
Yeah.
what have you been into this week?
So I believe last week I had mentioned about like career development stuff and a lot of technical learning that I'm doing, and I've been getting involved a lot with Python. This is going to get really nerdy, by the way. And I've just been exploring a bunch of different ideas that I could, do with this, developing skill set. And I've really been perusing a lot of GitHub repositories, which there's a lot of cool stuff out there. And I'm probably like 20 years late to the game, give or take, but I'm fascinated by the idea of RSS feeds.
RSS is great.
It's so simple and it's so perfect, and we do not leverage it.
That's because all of the tech billionaires hate it because it takes things out of their hands. They want all of the stuff to be on their platform and only on their platform.
Yeah.
And RSS allows you to do your own thing, and they hate that.
Yeah. And so I'm getting all on that train. So for those of you not familiar, RSS essentially is there's like every like traditional like website or blog has essentially a back end URL. Basically, it's the URL and it has like /feed at the end or like .xml at the end of it. And what that is just basically just all the text and whatnot from that website that you can get in like an RSS reader. So you can get that stuff sent to you. So imagine not having to go on Facebook or Twitter or whatnot to get your normal news flow. You don't have to go to one of the social media sites to follow ESPN. You can have it sent to you in that reader.
You can have it be 2009 all over again.
I know. That's what I'm saying. I'm very late. Like, this is not a new thing. And
you were getting into this about 15 years after Google killed it. Although interestingly, that's a funny coincidence because I was reading over some of the team recaps, and both Racing and Louisville City have RSS feeds for all their
most websites still do. Like, and even if they don't, there's websites that can generate like the URL link for those.
It's how I used to read all of my comics. I had like a big RSS feed of just all the comics I read.
Oh, I didn't even think about comics like that.
Yeah, because it's not just text. You can
that's fair. That's fair. I was just thinking about that. But
like web comics, that used to be. I mean, it still is. I still have it. I still read it from time to time. But
basically, the TLDR is that it's a method to get all the information that you want without any of the tracking and logins and all that other bullshit.
Yeah. The only unfortunate thing is that Google Reader used to be the best way to read RSS feeds, and then they killed it.
There's plenty of other options out there, though.
But yeah,
on your phone, on your computer, there's many ways to consume
use the old Reader, which is just a new copy of Google Reader.
Yeah, I saw that one.
It's what I do it's what I read my comics on.
So anyway, that was one rabbit hole I went down and have been perusing. I was exploring ideas with that regarding Python, but now I'm like, I'm gonna use this to try to get on social media less and still get the same information. So we'll see if it sticks. Zach, what about you? What have you been into?
I have also been into a really outdated thing this week. I've been playing Arkham Knight, the last Batman Arkham game, because it's one that I missed when it came out. Like, I played Arkham Asylum and Arkham City, and I think I didn't have a PlayStation at the time when it came out. Just sort of missed it, and then with the big failure of this new Suicide Squad game, I got into like, I want to play an actual good Arkham game. So I've gone back and I've been playing through Arkham Knight. I've been enjoying that. Although it is weird. It's weird playing through that game after just having played Spider-Man 2, which is taking that game's whole deal and having the advantage of being 8 years later and the ability to update things. So it's interesting what stuff Arkham does better and what stuff Spider-Man does better.
Multiple thoughts. One, the combat system in that game is still top notch. In
Yep, I
fact,
would I was gonna say, so the traversal in Spider-Man is way better. Like just getting around the city feels much, but they've gotten like
well,
the
it's
layout of the
Spider-Man,
missions and the traversal, they've really like upgraded, but the combat's still better in Arkham, I think.
really. So, yeah, like right before we got on here, I was finishing downloading, or re-downloading, I should say, the Mad Max game, which was used that same exact engine,
Yeah.
like that same fight game. So I'm really excited to do that. And I was thinking when you're first saying, I'm like, oh, that game just came out. Like it came out like 12 years ago. I just now
Uh
realized
what
like
year did it?
2013. It's older. But like in my mind, it's not like that old, but it really is.
I thought it was 15. Yeah, 2015.
Okay. That's
8 years ago.
whatever. Same difference.
Nine.
And
Whatever.
also, I heard the
8.5.
Suicide Squad wasn't that bad. It was just like it's just different.
It's pretty bad.
I haven't played it firsthand though.
It was a bomb. Like whether it's good or bad, it did not do what they wanted it to do.
Fair.
Uh, I'm not into live play. I don't like trying to turn things into daily update live play games. Give me a story and let me play through it, and then I want to be done with it.
Yep. Yep, I'm with you. All
All
right,
right,
let's
well,
get to what the people came for.
that's enough dilly dallying. Yeah, we got
Yeah.
games. Should we go in chronological order like usual?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And
we sort of divided and conquered this week.
we did. We split our efforts. I was on the radio call for Louisville City, so obviously that's what preoccupied my time and attention. Meanwhile, Zach was boots on the ground at Racing's home opener. Looked like a nice day out there. I was disappointed not to be able to be out and
It
about at
was
the
perfect
stadium.
weather for an opener.
Yeah. So
I think they had like 2,000 more people than at last year's home opener. I think the weather's probably helped
yeah,
out
it was a
a
little
lot
over
of that.
6K. I think the
Yeah.
weather's a big factor, particularly when you're like in this time of year where it can be you just don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, the El Paso versus Louisville City match is technically first by an hour
Yep.
on the road in El Paso, a good old baseball stadium, like the good old days, huh?
Give me the nostalgia. I was
Yeah,
watching
yeah.
watching the highlights. It reminded me of the good old days.
Yeah, they were dodging the infield quite a bit, and I think that was it was intentional, not coincidental. However, a lot to go over in this match. It was a 1-0 win for Louisville City. They got the job done. Um, First off, is in terms of the lineup, I was not expecting some of those selections, and I wonder if the fact that we played them in the preseason kind of was an influencing factor. You know, like they've already had a look at us, and maybe this was an attempt to kind of throw a curveball.
Yeah.
And but I mean, alternatively, some of these guys could have just won the position battles. I mean, Coach Cruz has been very open and transparent about the best guys will play, the guys who won it the most, and it's going to help the team win. And sometimes that doesn't always kind of meet our expectations.
I was
Uh,
pretty interested, uh, not just the starting lineup, but everybody but Danny Fondes and Dylan Maris got into the game. They used basically all the subs you
yeah,
can use, which I think is interesting.
yeah, leverage them all. Some of the well, I what I would consider surprises compared to what I was expecting in my head. First off, Jansen Wilson, who's looked really good. I mean, he's looked great every time I've seen him. So I shouldn't be surprised. I just was kind of
I was pretty
expecting
surprised by
Sam
that one.
Gleadle. I mean, he's been a hard worker.
Yeah.
He's earned it. Like so, like it's one of those things. Like in hindsight, I shouldn't be surprised. But at the time I was looking at it, I'm like, I didn't expect that. I was really expecting Sam Gleadle to be there.
Yeah,
Um,
I kind of did a double take on the lineup card when I looked at it because I thought they were listing Wilson Harris wrong as
yeah.
I was reading through.
Ray Serrano is a little bit of another one, but I guess with Brian Ownby's absence, his the probability of him getting a starting spot has went up a bit, so that could have been a factor there. And you know, kind of based on the friendly against Pittsburgh, which again wasn't necessarily reflective of what we knew we would see in the regular season, I thought Wes Sharpie would be in that back lineup mix, but alas, he was not.
Didn't make it into the game though.
Yeah, he did. Yeah. along with it, like you said, pretty much everybody else. Um, but yeah, so they came out they came out looking good. Particularly in the first 15 minutes, like they were just absolutely suffocating El Paso. El Paso is completely stuck on their like in their final third, really not able to do anything for a while of like and for the first like 20 or so minutes in the match. I think they had more backward passes than forward ones. Like it was a rough watch if you're an El Paso fan, given how that was going. We were just in complete control. Unfortunately, and I think this was kind of a theme throughout the match. We weren't taking full advantage of that. We weren't getting a lot of great scoring opportunities. And ultimately, that kind of reflected in our XG value, which I'll talk about here shortly. Um, I think El Paso grew into the game a little bit, but by and large, it was still Louisville City in the driver's seat. They were having to play based off of our terms, and their best and really only opportunities were on counterattacks. And for the most part, our team was prepared to get back and defend those, or at least hold things up enough for reinforcements to arrive. So, particularly in the defensive element, I thought the team had a really strong outing. Like there was really only one threatening goal opportunity for El Paso. And that was the one where Loss made a tremendous like jumping one-handed like bat away save.
Yeah.
None of the other shots that they made were really threatening. So when I afterwards when I saw that they had an XG of 1.4 compared to Louisville City's zero point 0.8, I was expecting Louisville City's to be low like that. That made sense. But El Paso's felt really high to me. And I don't did you
I
get
mean,
that sense
1.4
watching the replays
still
back?
1.4 for a home game is still low. It's still like below average.
But no, but comparing it to like
It,
the eye test,
so
like watching the
looking
shots that they did make, like
in the eye test, it looked to me just like looking through the highlights, like El Paso had the better chances of the
really,
night. Yeah, it did look like anybody had a ton between the two of them. So it sort of jived with me from what I saw. It seemed
really.
like I mean they had 6 shots on goal to 3 for Louisville City.
But again, it comes down to
Yeah,
quantity. And again, I'm not arguing Louisville City's number, like it's justifiably low. I just felt El
I think
Paso's was high.
I think some of those shots were easy saves because they were not well taken, but were from a location that could have been
Oh,
uh,
that part's fair.
a
Yeah, and
better chance
I
had it
guess
been
that goes
struck
into
better.
like what the model itself is.
Yeah.
Okay, I can understand it more from that perspective.
Yeah, because
Okay.
XG is not telling you
Wasn't
how well you shot it. It's
Yeah, yeah,
just
fair,
how
fair.
good the opportunity was. So if you bloop it right to the keeper, but it's from a dangerous location, that's like a high XG shot, even though that's in real
Yeah.
life that would have been the way you hit it would have made it a low probability it would have scored. The spot you took it from is where the
Yeah.
XG.
Sometimes in my head I kind of take the full sequence into
There
account when
actually
I'm
is a
doing that mental
metric
math.
for like shot placement and power, but it's a separate thing
Yeah.
from expected goals.
That's fair. Yeah, sometimes I need to recalibrate my understanding of these. And so I guess that's more so.
So
Okay, so yes, from the positions that they took from, I can think of at least two opportunities where they were in a pretty decent spot and they just
yeah,
totally just goofed it. So okay,
I think.
that makes a little bit more sense, but I still give a lot of credit to the
But if you're
defense. I thought they did a
evaluating like
sound job.
the reason XG I think is important is if you're evaluating Louisville City's chances they gave up, Louisville City doesn't have anything to do with how well the other team hits the ball.
Yeah.
What is in your control is where they're able to take shots from.
Yeah.
So,
And
uh,
I guess that makes me think. I'm thinking of a few sequences, particularly there was like two or three like one-on-ones with the center back and an attacking El Paso player. And I thought the center backs did a tremendous job of positioning themselves where
yeah,
their only option was to shoot a garbage shot.
yeah.
And I know we're getting too into the weeds on
So
XG, and really we shouldn't be looking at it like on a game by game
yeah.
basis.
That's
It
why
felt
I
like
never
there's a
post any of my XG rankings until at least 5 games into the season because you
yeah.
need to have an average.
I
I'll
think it's
say
still a good
from
barometer, roughly, you know?
yeah, from my standpoint, the defense played good, but the defense played good last year. I guess depending on how you want to evaluate it, like getting a win on the road against a team that absolutely destroyed them on the road last season is a big improvement over last year. um, But if you're looking at it holistically, um, my concern last season and coming into this year was last year they were not able to generate the volume of quality opportunities that they have in the past, and that's what really hurt them in the down the stretch.
Yep.
And that definitely didn't get addressed in this game.
Yeah.
They got to win, they got the points, all of that was good, but the the thing I was concerned about, I did not get proof that that has been fixed.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's like the lingering concern for me after this is like they won, but they won in a way that doesn't really clearly at least show me that they've made the step to
Right.
improve off last year. Like
Yeah.
this looked like a result they could have gotten last year.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I was going to go in on the offensive component for as much control of the match that we had, and like they just didn't make a lot of it. I'm glad that they found their goal, but like you kind of want it more out of that. Like I get that it's on the road and all the other excuses. It just felt like it's a sample size of one, so I don't want to like get
Yeah.
overly concerned about it.
And it's a
But like you
road
said,
game
a lot
against
like
a
last year.
quality opponent.
Yeah, yeah,
So
that's fair.
you would
Yeah,
expect that this would be like a below average performance for them because it's a road game against an above average team.
yeah.
So
And despite their like the El Paso's early performance, I still would kind of expect for them to kind of make the playoff picture. So that I'd say relatively good team. Um,
well, and
y-
they were on short rest too. Didn't they play Wednesday
yeah,
before
yeah,
this? Yeah.
yeah. So that I mean that obviously didn't help. And then they lost Brendan Craig pretty early on in the match. I don't know if you saw that injury, but it was
They
like a
did not have
non-contact. Yeah,
yeah.
he like landed and just totally bent his
Ugh.
ankle like the wrong way. Yeah, as soon as he was off like putting no weight on it. Like I hope he plays again this season. Like it wasn't good.
Oof.
Yeah. So but in terms of Louisville City's players' performances, like I thought the center backs did a great job when called upon. Again, the whole defensive unit I thought did had a good match. But Ray looked really sharp. This was probably I'd say above average match for him. He looked good and impressed me. Unfortunately, I thought Davila and Perez were relatively quiet.
Yeah.
There's kind of I feel even despite like the preseason, all the games they get there and the cohesion built and whatnot, I still think it takes like several competitive matches for like new acquisitions to really like get going. So again, small
Especially
sample size,
for
not going to look too into it.
like Davila and the central midfield. That's like
Yeah.
you gotta be clicking with everybody else on the team. Like
Yeah,
that just takes time.
and the fact that he got a yellow card was probably part of the reason why he got subbed out. I think it was right at halftime. So, you know, he didn't even get like a full match or more than half of a match, I should say, to work with there. So,
I thought it looked to me like Harris had a pretty good game in the
oh yeah, yeah,
press.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, he
He's
was
he's
uh
hungry. He's hungry this year.
caused a couple turnovers on the back line
Yeah.
just from pressing.
Yeah, yeah, I remember one pretty vividly of him pressing on the keeper and the keeper making a bad pass and thus we got in return. So
Yeah.
he's
I
doing a
think
lot of
him
great
and
work
Ray
out
were
there.
both working together on that one really
Yeah,
well. So
yeah.
the
So
press was clicking at least at times, which is good to see.
yeah, so I mean, ultimately, kind of really sum things up. Good start to the season, not a perfect performance, but absolutely something to build from. And hey, we got redemption from that home opener loss that El Paso served us last season. So I'm happy about that. I felt like we needed a little bit of revenge because that was probably the match last season that really kind of I won't say derailed things, but was
Yeah.
the first sour taste in the mouth.
Yeah, it's like a this is gonna be the theme for tonight because I have a very similar takeaway from the racing game,
Yeah.
but it's like a the optimist and the pessimist in me both have plenty to pull from here because I think just pure intangibles like they gritted it out and got a result on the road and like that feels good for the season. But like the nerd in me is like the things I wanted to see improve I didn't really see in this
Yeah.
game. So yeah,
Yeah. Before I do want to talk about racing before we get there briefly I want to mention the Pittsburgh match that's coming up this Saturday, home opener, which is exciting. An early start time, which I know is nice for the parents of little ones out there.
pretty good.
Pretty appreciated. I know Pittsburgh didn't have a great offseason in terms of what happened to the roster. A lot of their big pieces left. We got two of them, Ordonez and Tola. And they've not had a great start to life, but this is like a team I never really want to rule out. They ruined the opener at Lynn Family Stadium.
I'm about to say
How
I
they
never feel
play,
good about home openers against Pitt.
yeah. Yeah. And then like, I mean, just the style of their play, how it's like very defensive, like just seems to like even with like a more meh roster than what they've had in the past, like they can still get a result. They beat us in the preseason friendly here, which is another thing. We've seen them recently, so both teams have had a look at one another. So you just don't rule them out. But I mean, if Louisville City, I think, has the talent to beat them, it's just a matter of like, can we break down this very defensive team? So other teams have done it, so I hope
Probably
we
not going to
can.
make it easy for us.
Yeah, yeah, he's not. He's not. So excited to go back to Lynn Family Stadium because I missed it this weekend, but you were there. Tell us about it.
Okay. Uh, so, uh, 2-2 draw. Should have been a 2-0 win. A very, very, very good start to the game and a very, very, very bad finish to the game. Uh, uh, I mean, which I jinxed us. I started bragging online, which I never like. They went up 2-0, and I was already uh tweeting out Bev Yanez Coach of the Year. I 18 minutes into the game, which never works out good for me. Uh I don't so they started super strong. I will say something tactically I noticed because I think we talked a lot about what's it gonna look like for them this season. Uh they were not really holding onto the ball and controlling the game like we had sort of guessed they wanted to
Mm-hmm.
do. It was very much a uh try to score on the counter, like absorb and then get out quick on the counter, and that's when they looked the best. Honestly,
Hmm.
I think both of the goals were scored in situations like that. Like they got a turnover in the midfield and did like two or three quick passes and caught like the speedsters on the wings making north south runs. So that definitely was when they looked their best was on the counter. They did not really look dangerous in possession um, at all. Uh, I will say they had a couple of I think very good first games from players. Specifically, Alexa Barr had a very very good game. I mean, she was involved
Yeah, I
in
heard.
both of the goals. She anytime, especially in those turnover situations, like anytime the ball turned over, just because I think she had one really good opportunity. They got called offsides, and it was just barely offsides. That was actually probably would have been the best look of the game because she really beat the defender on that one. But she was very dangerous anytime they were able to play like a diagonal ball to her. Uh, I thought she got the assist. I mean, it's a rookie season, so you know, uh, I'd say for rookie off to a very quick start. Right, Rylan Turner got the assist. I think she was fairly quiet overall, but just to get the start first game possible of your career and to contribute to a scoring opportunity is a pretty big deal. Uh, Kanu scored, who I think we mentioned is a player that was very quiet last season that we really wanted to
Yeah.
see a step forward from. So I think that's an encouraging start to her. It did seem to me like, and you mentioned like taking time for teams to gel. There's a lot of new pieces here. Specifically, the new players all seem to look a little bit lost in defense.
Hmm.
Like, there were definitely some like miscommunications on picking up a player between people, and just that uh, there were some, I will say, like easy mistakes made that sort of led to the goals they gave up. And it just like uh, again, after last season, not being able to hold on to leads is a huge concern.
Yeah, it's
Like
one of
all of
those
these
draws that
changes
feels like
and
a loss.
still, huh?
It's one of those draws that feels like a loss.
Yeah. To go up 2-0 and go up a player and not
I
be able
forgot
to,
about the player element too. Yeah.
yeah, they were up a player for pretty much the whole second half. Uh, so yeah, I think lots of encouragement. The attack looks good. I think like players just got to gel and the defense has to get all on the same page a little better. Um, but yeah, man, I was ready to come in so hot and that uh giving up the lead really brought everything back down to earth. Now, were you able to see anything from the
Um,
game? Do you have any
no,
thoughts?
no, unfortunately, if the with the overlap, it had the little bit of radio talk we had to do after the end of the game, and then I had to go pick up food for the wife, so really didn't get to check things. So I got home and it was at its conclusion. Then I had gotten a text between all of that we were up like 2-0 or something like that from one of my friends who was there. So I was very excited. I'm like, all right, we got this, and we didn't. But like you said, I had lingering concerns about the cohesion piece. Just anytime you bring in new players, also the whole like new coach and system, like there's just a lot of things in flux and a lot of reason to like have like I don't want to say seeds of doubt. That's not completely fair. Um, and just concerns, I guess, just in general.
I will say one thing in their favor. Well, I did say that I felt like the defense just looked not on the same page, but the two goals that were scored were kind of like weird, fluky goals. I mean, both of them were kind of weird deflections. One of them ended up being an own goal. One of them was like a deflection on a set piece that dropped right to another player's feet. So
Silver lining.
they didn't give up super duper strong goals. They were both
Yeah.
kind of fluky, but um, well, and then since we have to talk about XG for everything, I think it was zero point 0.7 to 1.13. The only note I will make though is that I think the zero point 0.7 is probably kind of low for racing because the goal that Barr scored was one where she got a diagonal ball and got past her defender on a fast break, and the goalkeeper was way off her line. And so she chipped over top of her from outside the box, and it was a very, very easy, very clear goal. The way XG models work, shots outside the box are like a 1 to 3% chance of going in because typically if your team is set up in the defense on the half that you barely ever scoring from outside the box,
Yeah.
that was not a 1% opportunity just because of where the defenders were and
Yeah.
depending on how advanced the model is, that doesn't always get captured. So
Yeah. It's not capturing where the goalie is. Yeah.
yeah, so I think that that's probably on the low end there. And yeah, Kanu's goal was also she was pretty open. That's um teams that score on the counter tend to uh their expected goals tends to be lower than what you would expect it to actually be because a lot of models don't take goals coming off the counter into
Yeah.
consideration well. Um but yeah, I I think it was a good game. Had they held on to that win, it would have been a great game.
Yeah.
I think if you're looking for bright spots, like the attack looked better than it has, um, and like the goals they gave up weren't super strong goals.
Hmm.
So I am curious to see how they respond in this Houston game coming up.
Yeah. I mean, it'll definitely be a big response, but every point matters in this league. So the fact that they got a point is still good. Obviously, we wanted it to be 3 points, and it
I mean,
probably
every
should have
point
been three
matters. So
points.
you could look at that as they got a point, which is good, or you could look at it as they dropped 2 points,
Yeah,
which
but
could matter
they
as
didn't
well.
totally blow up and walk out there with a goose egg. So
Uh,
try and be
oh,
optimistic about it. But to your point, like yeah, the response in this upcoming Houston game will be really important. I think it it would do a lot on the I guess on the confidence front. I'm not even talking about like in the locker room, but even externally to get something out of a road win.
Well, and like if they want to be a playoff team this season, they've got to get points on the road,
Yep.
and Houston is probably going to be one of their best chances to get points on the road. I think Houston is not going to have a good season this season, and so this is not a point. This is not a team you want to be dropping points on the road against because I think this is going to be one of their better opportunities. I do want to circle back though. I think this was up there maybe as one of the all-time best kit matchups of the in the history of the NWSL. It was a good the kits like they worked well together.
Oh, I like when
You
there's like
could tell
synergy
who
there.
everyone was. Like there was it was that was an all-timer just as far as kit versus kit. Because Racing got to debut their Argyle kits. Orlando was in their sweet orange kits.
I have something to complain about. Louisville City played in their home kits on the road. We didn't get the hoops. They're wearing
Yeah.
the purple. Come
Uh,
on.
and that is because I think El Paso's home kits
Yeah,
are white.
home
So
team. Well, home team
home
can
team
like
gets picked
pick.
first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So those
Well, this
jerks.
was so the racing. It was also an interesting. Both Racing and Orlando were in their primaries,
Hmm.
uh, which is kind of interesting.
Those are always usually the better kits anyway, so
Yeah.
we'll take it.
So, but yeah, it's both of those kits looked really good in person. Uh,
So Racing plays Houston Saturday at 8:30 on like IO. There's so many streaming services with this league.
that both City and Racing, the new TV deals, everything's going to be spread across multiple platforms. It's going to be such a
Not right. I
such
mean,
a
not
headache
Louisville
to solve.
City. Like it's still kind of pretty much what it was. Like you can catch everything on ESPN Plus. You
Yeah.
have the option of like these local broadcasts. We have the one like CBS one. Like,
And the racing, some of them are on Paramount, some
oh,
of them are on.
the racing thing's up.
It's all over
I
the place.
hate it. I hate it.
Some
I
of them are
don't
on
think it's good.
Scripps, which I don't even know what Scripps is. Scripps is who does the spelling bee.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's my
Uh,
complaint. I mean, like I guess like one way to look at it is that like they're kind of spreading their exposure, but on
yeah.
the other lens, like you're making it
Well,
difficult for people who want to get like into the league and regularly follow it. So I don't personally subscribe to that ideology methodology. Honestly, what it probably comes down to is those were who were giving them the most money, and they took the most money
they
rather
got a big
than the
upgrade
like
money
than the
wise.
best like arrangement for the fans viewing
From
experience.
a fan standpoint, I feel like the best case scenario is you're spread across a bunch of channels on like actual TV, but everything's on one streaming platform. I think
Yep.
that's the ideal because you want to be able to reach a bunch of different people and be on a bunch of different channels on regular TV, but
Yep.
like people who are seeking out games on streaming, it should be all be in one place for
Yeah.
them.
So by before Saturday, I got to figure out what this stream thing is. I literally have never heard of that one. I spent a lot of time on the computer too. You'd think I'd at least have heard of it.
Yeah, I
Whatever.
need to find a place that I can just go watch it at.
Yeah. Whatever.
Or we can watch it out somewhere together.
Yeah. I'm done with that. Oh, we didn't mention this is the Grande's former club, and Houston is home to CC Kaiser, which we got her from Houston in the expansion draft. Then she went to KC, and then KC traded her there. So
She's moved around quite a bit.
yeah, little triangle action going on there. So, all right, Zach, what else you got for me? You had a few other random notes written here. I want to hear what this is about.
Oh, we got a big win this weekend, Benton,
What's your
which is
what's your W?
I finally successfully pestered the team into putting a TV screen at the playground. It wasn't there yet. Apparently, the rain pushed back the construction schedule, but we are getting a TV screen to watch the game from the playground on. So
Happy
I
for you.
know, which is it's a little. I mean, I guess it's sad because I no longer get to play the good cheer or bad cheer game while I'm watching Chuck. I no longer get to have the wonderful experience, which is hearing the whole stadium go ooh and have no clue whether we were scored on or scored.
End of an
Uh,
era, huh?
And some mixed news. So this is the week of mixed news. We got veggie crunch wraps at the stadium now. I can't report back on whether they're good or not because they were all gone at halftime. So uh the the under the fan section grab and go was having some trouble keeping stuff in stock because I went near the end of halftime and like literally everything was sold out. Not just the vegetarian stuff, but like the regular stuff. They everyone that worked there was freaking out. They had nothing in stock. So
First game hiccups, I guess.
first game hiccups. I guess they weren't expecting the weather to be so good and have so many people.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
guess it's I don't know. I guess it's good problems to sell out of the food. Probably it does mean you're leaving money on the
Yeah, I mean,
table.
yeah, I
But
mean, it's better than still having it on hand, you know?
yeah. But also it's like if you could have sold more, that's more money you could have
Yeah,
made.
missed
Yeah.
opportunity.
So I guess we'll find out next week if the vegan crunch wraps are good. Uh trying to think of any other new stuff I saw walking around. Uh yeah, the tachos look pretty good.
The what
That's
is?
another thing. Tater tot nachos,
Oh, I hadn't seen those.
like loaded tachos. That was another thing they were pushing. Uh
They have like a mac and cheese thing with like pulled pork or buffalo chicken. I know that's not your vibe, but I had that during the friendly and that was good.
I didn't check actually I didn't check on is Four Peg still there?
Yeah, no, actually, so they're gone, and there's going to be, if it's not already there, there's going to be a I Love Tacos there, but they're still going to
Okay.
have the one that like the little cart vendor thing
Yeah.
that's been the end. Apparently, that's been the most like popular thing. So
I Heart Tacos is really good. Although
actually, I still haven't tried it yet. I need
my
to though.
one wish is that the actual I Heart Tacos restaurant has like really tasty tofu tacos. Uh, but because it's a condensed menu for the stadium, they don't have those. If we got those, I would be so happy.
You live a tough life, don't you?
I know it's hard out there. I'm trying to not spend quite so much money on food at games, so I'm fine with them not having it. But
Yeah, whenever I go to these games, I'm there so long, like I have to eat. Like I'm there before the gates open. I leave after the parking lot's pretty much like cleared out. Like I gotta have food within that window.
yeah. Oh, speaking of leaving, more news from the weekend. Somebody backed into my car while we were in it on the parked on the street
Those
and
son of
then
a
just drove
bitches.
off. And they were in a racing uniform, so I know they were leaving the game. So I guess I'm putting the word out. If any listeners to the show, if you have a friend or are the person that drives a silver Ford Maverick and is a racing fan, tell that person they suck, and also they owe me some money to get the trailer hitch shaped dent out of the front of my bumper.
I'm assuming you weren't quick enough getting the phone out to take a picture of the license plate or anything.
No, they kind of squealed off real quick.
Yeah, it's one of those sudden things where you're like,
Well, I mean, I was getting Chuck into the car, so
Oh, okay.
um,
Idiots.
yeah, I know. And to just leave. Plus, we're all leaving the game. We're supposed to be like a family or whatever.
Yeah,
Uh,
well, they're about to be
we're not even like
ostracized
get
from the
out and
purple
check.
family.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
So anyway, tell that person they suck if you know that person.
Okay, yeah, I'll find them and I'll let them know. All
No,
right,
I'm talking to the fans, Benton.
I'm gonna find them and let them know. I'm gonna hunt them down. I know the fans will do that justice
Although
for you
it
too.
was pretty nice because some other Louisville City people that we know from games were walking down the sidewalk right next to us when it happened and like chased him down and cussed him out as they were driving away, which felt pretty good. Yeah.
Zach's got shooters out on those streets. All right. Anything else you want to speak to?
Oh boy. I mean, I'm excited. I I not the best start to the season we could have had, but not the worst either. I think
Yeah,
pretty
it could have been worse.
lot of positives to take away from both games.
Yeah.
Uh Definitely seems like we got a lot of new pieces on both teams that we just need a little more time for everything to gel.
Yeah. Yeah, we just got to try not to draw too many conclusions from, like a sample size of one. This is the annoying part of the season, these first handful of games where you want to make these broad overarching like
I
thoughts and analysis when there's just not enough there to really like
My rule is
do
I
that.
can't have a strong opinion until we've played at least 5 games.
Oh, yep. No, that's my bar too.
Yeah.
Yeah. 5 games. So, you know, we got 3 points for Louisville City. We got 1 point for Racing. Like, hey, better than nothing. We'll ignore the fact that it was a blown lead, but 4 point weekend, 4 out of 6. Yeah, I'd take that most weekends
Dude, that's a
in some
that's a
capacity.
B. 4 out of 6. Like a B minus weekend, I think.
Wouldn't that be like what, like 6%? That's failing. But I guess you can't
No,
really.
in soccer grades.
Oh, yeah, and soccer grades probably about there.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, listeners, for tuning in to another episode of the Vamos Morados podcast. I am so excited to be back in the weekly rhythm where we can talk about the games that have happened, do a little bit of previewing of the games to come. We will be back next week and we'll talk about hopefully a win over Pittsburgh and a win over Houston.
Next week we talk about a 6 point weekends. I'm
Six
putting it
point.
out there into the universe. I'm gonna make it happen.
Yeah. Stocks are going up, baby. 6 out of 6. Let's do it.
I know you've been into the zodiac lately, so I'm gonna put my intentions out to the universe to get a 6 point weekend.
I'm not into it. My friends have started talking about when his kid was born. They're like,
Man, when I saw you post that on Twitter, I was like, if his what am I into this week is the zodiac, I'm gonna
no,
absolutely derail the entire podcast.
no, I did not. I did not even try to understand that. I'm like, I know I've seen people tweet about this shit before. I'm like, let's let the experts handle it. I'm not going to learn this. And so I'm like, don't worry, guys. Like, I got this. I'm gonna throw it out on Twitter and see what we come back with. So he's gonna be a smart, emotional boy, is what I was told.
Mm.
Yeah. So anyway, we're out for this week. Catch you guys next week. Thank you guys for subscribing. Check out the State of Louisville Network. Bye, y'all.